This video is brought to you by my two-part Nebula class, Everything I Know About Chords, Part 1 and Part 2. What do we think about the way this chord sounds? Do we like it? Does it rub us the wrong way? What's it called? Like, could you use it? Like, I want to talk about that today. There's definitely some problems with this chord, and there are definitely some possibilities with this chord. Sometimes we say that the 11 chord shouldn't really exist, because what it means is we're looking at a major chord that turns dominant, right? We have the flat 7, the 9, and the 11 all together. And the reason that it is so controversial, I guess we should say, is because of this interval right here. It's the interval of a minor ninth. And I'm guessing that you don't really like me to do this to you, right? Yeah, I don't really like doing it either. But the thing about it that's even more grating than just, the interval itself is the fact that this note makes the chord major, or actually dominant, because we've got a flatted 7th. And this note would imply that the chord is suspended. If we have a chord like this with this note in it instead of this note, right, it wants to give way to that. There's this tension, and you can have both at the same time, and we're going to talk about that. But especially when they're this far apart, it hurts our ears, and it confuses our ears, frankly. Like, what do we do with that? It's a lot of information. I want to talk about some songs that use 11 chords. At least I'm using the app iReal today, and these are the chords that are in the iReal app. I figure we use it all the time. Why not just make it my go-to source for chord names today? So we're going to talk first about That's the Way of the World by Earth, Wind & Fire. Such a hip composition. It's in the key of D flat. And we can see that the second chord is a D flat 11. Let's listen to how it sounds real quick. Then we've got some strings coming in for the next section. And when I sit down to play this song, I understand how to play D flat major 7. For a pop song, I'll go ahead, I'll put the 5th in there, right? I'll play some nice tight voicing. When it gets to this next chord, I don't know how to play it. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm going to have to think about it to understand how it fits in this song. And if it truly is D flat 11, right? Here it is. If it truly is this, or if it's D flat sus. And sometimes people do write an 11 chord when a chord really should just be a sus chord. Now let me talk about that sus chord for you for a second. So back to C. If we have a chord called C11 and we play it in its truest form, here it is, right? It doesn't mean that we can't mess with the notes a little bit, like maybe put the F down here, right? Or put the E up here. Like, there's options about how we could deal with that and make it work. But what I first need you to understand is that sometimes a B flat over C chord gets referred to as C11. It's not right. It should be B flat over C. It could also be called C sus. Usually this is what you think of for C sus, but I think it's fair to say that it's okay whenever you see a sus chord to just assume that you can play the root and go down a whole step and play a major triad, and you're going to be just fine. You can try it both ways. But I tend to like the power of this kind of a sus chord. So, let's try it both ways on The Way of the World first to see what our ears just think right off the bat. We come together on this, and then let's play it the first way. Special day. Right, there it is. And then we see where it's going, which is G flat 6. Send a message loud and clear. And let's try it the other way. What if instead we play a D flat, we go down a whole step, and we give it this treatment? It's like a C flat over D flat, right? So let's try that one. We come together on this special day. That sounds great to me. And to tell you the truth, the first one sounded great to me as well. And so if by just doing that, I can't decide what is the correct notation or the correct voicing, you go to the recording. And you know, really, you should go to the recording first. But I think it's kind of fun just to play this little game and see if your ears can actually be the instrument to detect what the right chord should be called. All right, so we're going to listen to the next section where the strings come in, and we're going to try to determine if both of these notes are in this chord. So if we hear the F and if we hear the 11, so the third and the 11, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to listen, and we're just going to see how that F sounds in there. So I'm going to play it maybe in both octaves, just while the chord sounds, I'm going to and see how it sounds against it. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to sing it. Just hear how it sounds in the voice, like in there. To hear how it sounds with a vocal in the mix. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is hear if we hear that 11. So I'm going to play it with that chord. Here we go. And now it's hard to hear, and people might disagree with me, but I'm pretty sure that I heard that 11 down there. Ooh, listen for it again. And I think I hear the 3 up here. So I think that they take those notes and reverse them to get a little bit less dissonance. And inside of that, pretty sure I hear these. Maybe the A flat too. It's a beautiful sounding chord. And you could argue that maybe this is like A flat minor 6 instead, but it does, I do hear that G flat, so the 11, if you call it a D flat 11, and the 7, if you were to call it an A flat kind of chord. But I think it's right. It's actually right to call this D flat 11. And we can talk about different ways to voice this. But let's actually talk about this kind of scale that we're using, right? If we put it like this, it looks like a scale. And let's actually put the D flat on the bottom, right? Put that on the top. What's this scale? What are we dealing with here? Maybe this? Could it be D flat mixolydian? Because it's not D flat major, because we've got this B in it, right? Or C flat. So we're talking about, some kind of a dominant scale. And I wonder how D flat mixolydian would sound over this song. So when we get to that chord again, I'm just going to play the whole scale and see how it stacks up. Here we go. It's fabulous, isn't it? Yeah, it sounds amazing. All right, now let's talk about what mixolydian means. Mixolydian is the 5th mode of the major scale. If we're in C, it's very easy to think about because we know all these white notes, right, are C major. And if we need to play the 5th mode, all we have to do is just come up to play mixolydian and play those exact same notes, G to G, white notes. That gives us a major scale with a flat 7. All right, so right back to D flat 11 now. If we have these notes and we know that they sound good, we need to figure out why. We have to ask ourselves, what is this the 5th of? D flat happens to be the 5th of G flat, right? So we use the key of G flat with that C flat in there. Also, G flat, A flat, B flat, C flat, D flat, E flat, F, G flat. Those are the names of those notes. I have a whole video about how to build and notate scales and chords if you're curious about why I would say C flat instead of B, etc. But, all right, so we're talking about G flat major, basically. And what that means is that probably D flat is going to lead us to G flat. And that's why this chord works, that's why this scale works. And it does. It's worth noting that even though I'm going to start singing the words when the verse actually starts right now, the chord is not D flat 11, but rather C flat over D flat, or maybe A flat minor 6. It leads us exactly where we think it's going to. So, options for this chord. Do, 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 do. I like this one. That's pretty nice, isn't it? I mean, really we're using every note of D flat mixolydian except for the B flat. How would it sound to actually add that? Let's see. Do, 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 do. It's pretty... It really fills it up, doesn't it? But it's gorgeous. So, I mean, you could play every single note of this mixolydian scale and have a dynamite sounding chord. You can also make a little melody, like I said, even with all these notes. Let's see if we can think of one. Do, 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 do. Something like that. It's a lot of notes. I don't know that I would do that. Maybe something like that. Right? Maybe if you were arranging horns or something, like, or just gonna play some kind of a backing line, like you could use all of these notes, mix them up, put them in a rhythm, and come up with something really cool to play right over the top of it. But this isn't the only song I want to talk about today. I want to talk about another song. The next song that I want to talk about is Me and Mrs. Jones by Billy Paul. This song, right, it's in E flat. And it goes, me and Mrs. Jones. Then we've got this chord, right? This chord says B flat 11. So let's just check it out. This time, let's go straight to the recording instead of using our little heads. Let's just go straight to the recording and let's do what I said. So in B flat, there are the notes to B flat 11. There's our problem. We need to listen to see if there truly is a D in this chord, or if, like I said, A flat over B flat could just suffice. All right, so let's take a listen. Me and Mrs. Jones. Ba. That next chord is the one we're listening to. Me and Mrs. Jones. Let's play a D and see if it sounds good over it. Me and Mrs. Jones. I don't like it. Now, listen real close and see if you hear that note. I don't hear it. So let's try playing that B flat with an A flat right at the same time as that chord on the recording and see how that sounds. Me and Mrs. Jones. And I think we've got our chord, so let's try it. Me and Mrs. Jones. I like that. We got a thing going on. Now we've got another one right here. So again, I'm going to play this note and see how it sounds on We Both Know That It's Wrong. We both know that it's wrong. But you guys, I don't hear it. So I'm going to try that trick again. We both know that it's wrong. Doesn't mean that I can't play like an F there too. All of those notes, like in a pentatonic scale, they're all up for grabs. But I don't hear the D. We both know that it's wrong. But I don't know, right? It's like it just doesn't sit well with me. So this is one of those cases where the people, the powers that be at iReal, which again is just the app that people use. Like on a gig, if you don't know a song, you typically open iReal and play the chords that they give you. So for somebody to have written B flat 11 here, I say it's wrong. I say it should be A flat over B flat. There we go. Next song I want to look at is Sweet Love by Anita Baker. Oh, sweet, sweet Anita Baker. Chord in question coming up, right? Anita Baker sings two notes. Immediately you know it's Anita Baker. Oh my gosh. Let's listen to how this song sounds and whether or not that A flat 11 is really an A flat 11. How would it be? Any manner of this kind of thing, right? But we gotta have both of these notes at the same time. It's a beautiful sounding chord, but does it happen on Sweet Love? Let's check it out. Let's just play this C note when it happens and see if we like how it sounds. Let's play the D flat. All right, now let's play the chord, how it's written. Now let's just play what it probably is. A flat on the bottom, G flat on the top. Let's invert it so that it's nice and tight right there. Let's play that over that chord. And F11 follows. Now we've got to check it. We've got to see if we hear that A. Do we? Or does it go straight to another one of these? F with an E flat over the top. Let's play that and hear. Sounds right to me. So we're talking about maybe this kind of movement. G flat over A flat. I mean, that just sounds like this song, doesn't it? It's such a nice little sequence, just those two chords together. I love them. Two sus chords, or I guess they're slash chords, really. A minor third apart. That's killer. Ooh, let's do another one. Ah, I love it. Oh my gosh. Ah, okay, I know what my next song is going to be when I write one. Jeez. All right, don't take my idea. Don't take my idea. Let's listen to that. With all my heart, I love you, baby. Now we're at A, right? Do, 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 do. Here it comes again. Let's listen. Yes. And then this one again. I'm in love, right? Or my heart will hold you, baby. Stay with me, 'cause, baby, I believe in this love. Oh yeah, I mean, that's the sauce. We play that sus chord like that, or that slash chord, and we just know that this is not a true 11 chord. I mean, if I would try to play it, I think you would all hate me. I don't think it quite works. Do 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 do. Right, and then this one. Do do do. I mean, if you're in the kind of band that does this kind of stuff, like if you're playing some neo soul or like just some more modern music, I'd say go for it. Like it's actually pretty tight, but the actual song, it's just a slash chord, and it's not really an 11 chord. So you got to watch out when you see these 11 chords written in any of your music. I would say 80% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, they're really just going to be this kind of slash chord that I told you about, like C with B flat over it, right? It's just going to be that. And it's an easy hack to play a sus chord and an easy hack to make your way around 11 chords, because if I had to sight read, I would bet money that you're not going to have that third in there right next to the 11. It's just probably not going to happen unless you happen to be as hip as Earth, Wind, and Fire, and hardly anybody is. You guys, these things are all in my class, everything I know about chords. I talk about 11 chords there. I talk about 13 chords there. I talk about all manner of altered chords. I talk about all the kinds of ways that you can use clusters to navigate where you'd like to go. I talk about ideas that you can have, like when you're going to play a minor chord. You cry. I decided to go for the sharp 7, major 7 on a minor chord, just right at the end. I mean, my note is there. It's the melody note. So to do that, I had to do it kind of sneakily right at the end. What if I wanted to do the 6? Like what else can work? Can you add the 4 or the 11? Yes, you can. Can you add the 7? Yes, you can. Can you add the 6? Yes, you can. Probably not at the same time as the 7. Like that's going to give you problems. But I talk about all of this, and it's a 2-part class. So if all of this stuff is too advanced for you, this is part 2. Part 1 starts very simply. How do you build a major chord? You take any note and you count half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you count 3 more. 1, 2, 3, and you've got your major chord. You can do it no matter where you put your finger. And then you can start to understand how to actually build chords and what makes a chord a chord. It's all in my Nebula class. You can sign up if you click the code that you see on the screen right here for a big discount. It'll just be $30 for the entire year. And not only do you get my, I sound like an infomercial, but I believe strongly that this can really be helpful to you if you'd like to become a better piano player or a better guitar player or just better, well-rounded musician in general, even if your instrument is drums, even if your instrument is saxophone or oboe or French horn, whatever. You can be a more well-rounded musician if you understand harmony. Click the code, $30 for the year. You get everything I know about chords part 1, everything I know about chords part 2, and these are like hour-long classes with several chapters, very beautifully produced by the people at Nebula. You also get my other 2 classes, creating meaningful motifs for jazz improvisation. It shows you how to just take, something like Sweet Love with these beautiful chords and play a solo over the top of them that is nice. Something with a melody like that anybody could enjoy, instead of doing what people typically do, which is just playing scales and arpeggios to solo, but to actually have concrete ideas that make a melody, a motif that's worth hearing again, worth remembering. That's to me, it's next level, and I've got a whole course about it. I've also got a really fun course with Adam Neely where we talk about the blues for an hour. If you sign up for Nebula, you get my classes, plus you get every video that I've ever put on Nebula. Hundreds of videos, bonus videos, extras that you won't see on my YouTube channel. All of my content goes on Nebula first, at least 24 hours ahead of time, so you're kind of ahead of the game if you are the kind of person who gets excited about Aimee Nolte releasing a video. There are probably 5 of you, but I appreciate you. Also on Nebula, it's a whole platform of educational content. Just like Netflix, just like Hulu, just like Prime, but it's all educational content. It's a beautiful platform. You can run it from your Roku TV, your Fire TV, your Android TV. You can run it from your laptop. You can run it from the app on your phone. I'm glad to be a part of it, and I hope that you'll click my code and get all that's available to you just through that one click. And like I said, $30 for an entire year. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I hope this was fun for you to talk about 11 chords with me. I had a blast. I'll see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.